Mira Hale had always believed she was lucky. Not in the dramatic way people meant. No surprise inheritances, no sweeping romance, no glittering turns of fate. Just lucky enough that nothing ever went wrong. Her mornings were quiet, predictable. She woke at 6:30, brewed coffee strong enough to sting her tongue, stood at the window of her sixth-floor apartment, watching the city stretch awake. Cars below, windows lighting up, the soft shuffle of footsteps on pavement. The same rhythm every day. Nothing bad ever happened to her. That was the pattern. As she pulled on her coat, her phone buzzed. She glanced down while tying her shoes. There it was again. Same subject line. No thread. Follow-up. She frowned. Wait, had she scheduled a follow-up? She didn't remember it. Probably spam. She deleted the message without opening it. The elevator hummed down, smooth and silent. No one joined her. No awkward small talk. The lobby guard nodded the same way he always did. Normal. She stepped outside into the crisp morning air, exhaled, and started toward the subway. Halfway down the block, she stopped. Just for a second. Something was off. A shift in the air. Like walking into a room after someone had just left. Warmth without a source. She glanced over her shoulder. Nothing. No one watching. No footsteps trailing behind her. Just the city, moving like it always had. Her heart beat a little too fast. Weird. She shook it off and kept walking. Her footsteps quickened without meaning to. By the time she reached the office lobby, the feeling had faded. Completely. She tapped her badge. Smiled at the receptionist. Smoothed her hair in the elevator's mirrored wall. Normal day. Quiet, steady life. But she would never know that email had been the third warning that week. And the last one she'd get. The man outside her building had been there for 4 days. Not standing directly in front. Never that obvious. Always across the street. Always near the coffee cart. Sometimes leaning against a lamppost. Sometimes pretending to scroll through his phone. She hadn't told anyone. Why would she? It wasn't that serious. Not yet. Still she noticed him. Details stood out to her. Always had. It was something she liked about herself, this quiet attentiveness. She saw patterns. Tracked them. Filed things away. Day 1, she barely registered him. Day 2, mild discomfort. Day 3, she told herself it was nothing. Just a man. Just a street. Day 4, she left 5 minutes earlier. Walked a slightly different route. Didn't even realize she'd adjusted her behavior until she was already doing it. And then on the 5th day, he was gone. She slowed, her breath catching. The usual spot across the street was empty. No coffee cart. No silent figure half-blurred in the morning haze. Just people. Moving. Different faces. Normal. Her stomach tightened. Relief flickered up first, quick and weightless. Then confusion. Followed by something colder. People didn't vanish that cleanly. She went through her workday distracted. The office buzzed around her. Emails came in. Meetings stacked. Someone laughed too loudly by the coffee machine. She couldn't focus. At lunch, she pulled out her phone and opened her sent folder. Just to confirm. An email she knew she'd sent the day before, asking HR about adjusting her hours, was gone. Not unanswered. Gone. She stared at the screen, blinking. No typo in the address. No drafts saved. Nothing. She scrolled again. Slower this time. Still nothing. A dry laugh slipped out. Okay, she whispered to no one. Get it together. Her voice sounded thinner than she meant it to. Glitches happened. Emails failed. People moved on. It was easy to make patterns where none existed. That's what she told herself. That night, she took her usual route home. The subway was crowded. Loud. The air smelled like old gum and overheated brakes. Normal. But when she reached the block where the man had always stood, there was no trace of him. Not just him. No coffee cart. No lamppost leaners. No sense that anything had ever been there at all. It was too clean. As if he'd never existed. Mira unlocked her apartment and stepped inside, heart thudding faster than she liked. She paused in the doorway, coat half off, listening for something. Anything. Nothing came. Later, she lay in bed, eyes heavy, muscles slack. And she slept. Too deeply. Far too deeply. She noticed him for the first time on a Tuesday. Not because he was striking, though he was. Not because he stared, because he didn't. She noticed him because when she stepped onto the platform, already tight with unease from the press of strangers and the buzz of fluorescent lighting, the discomfort eased. Just like that. Her breath caught. The shift was so subtle she might have missed it. But her body didn't. Her shoulders relaxed. Her jaw unclenched. A strange, soft stillness settled over her, like stepping into shade on a burning day. He stood just a few feet away. Tall. Still. Dressed in a dark coat. His expression neutral, almost bored. The kind of man you'd forget the second you looked away. But she didn't. Her gaze drifted to him and back again. Nothing about him demanded attention, and yet her body refused to ignore him. Her pulse slowed. Her breath deepened. She hadn't realized how tense she'd been until the tension was gone. The train arrived. A rush of cold air and screeching brakes. They boarded the same car. He didn't look at her. Didn't move toward her. He stood across the aisle, one hand holding the pole loosely, eyes unfocused. Not on his phone, not on the people, not on her. Mira watched his reflection in the window. Calm. Unshaken. There was a quiet to him, like nothing in the world could touch him. Not the noise, not the crowd, not even time. The train jolted suddenly. Someone stumbled, an older man pushed by the motion. And in that instant the stranger moved. Just half a step. Not toward her. Not against her. But between. He blocked the man's fall with a quiet shift of weight. Didn't touch her. Didn't speak. And then, just as quickly, he was still again. No apology. No glance. Nothing. But her heart kicked. Hard. She looked down at her hands. They were trembling. At her stop, she hesitated. Just for a second. Don't be ridiculous, she told herself. He's just a man on a train. Still, as she stepped onto the platform, a strange tightness coiled low in her stomach. The space between them widened with every step. And with it, the unease returned. Subtle, but sharp. She glanced back once over her shoulder. He was still standing there, looking at the train doors, not her. But she felt watched. Not in a threatening way. In a way she couldn't name. As the train pulled away, so did the quiet safety she hadn't known she was clinging to. She stood there for too long, unmoving. Breath caught, chest too tight. And the thought came unbidden, sudden, unwelcome. I felt safer when he was near. She didn't know why. And that unsettled her more than anything else. Mira saw him again 3 days later. She wasn't looking for him. That was the unsettling part. She exited the cafe near her office, fingers curled around a paper cup that was already cooling. The afternoon had turned gray, clouds pressing low, the city dimmed and heavy. She stepped onto the sidewalk. And felt it. That soft easing. That subtle loosening in her chest. Her steps slowed before her mind caught up. He stood near the curb, just beyond the flow of pedestrians. Same dark coat. Same stillness. As if he hadn't moved since the last time she'd seen him. Her pulse skipped. This time, she let herself look. His face was calm. Focused. Not blank, intent. As if he were listening to something beneath the noise of traffic and voices. When his gaze shifted to her, it wasn't sudden. It didn't pin her. It simply landed. Her breath hitched anyway. Hi, she said before she could stop herself. The word felt too loud between them. He nodded once. Not dismissive. Not inviting. Acknowledging. She took a sip of coffee she didn't need. You, she paused, heat creeping into her cheeks. You take the train at Lexington, right? Yes. Just that. His voice was low. Even. Close enough that she felt it more than heard it. She hesitated. I've seen you around. I know. Her fingers tightened around the cup. That should have unsettled her. Instead, it grounded her. They stood there, traffic roaring past, the world busy and oblivious. Then he said quietly, You should stop taking Maple Street home. Her stomach dropped. I what? It's poorly lit, he continued, tone unchanged. Constructions made the sidewalks narrow. There are fewer cameras. Her heart thudded hard enough to hurt. How do you know which route I take? A pause. Not long. Just long enough. His eyes searched her face, not invasive, not predatory. Calculating. Careful. I notice things, he said. 1,000 responses crowded her throat. She chose the safest one. That's oddly specific. His gaze held hers. So is danger, he replied. She laughed, sharp and breathless. You're serious? Yes. The word landed heavy. She should have stepped back. She didn't. Instead, she found herself nodding. Okay, she said softly. I'll keep that in mind. Something in his expression shifted. Relief, maybe. Or something deeper. Good, he said. And then, just like that, he stepped away, disappearing into the crowd. Mira stood frozen, heart racing, coffee forgotten. She didn't take Maple Street home that night. The The sound came first. A sharp, sudden screech, metal protesting against metal. Mira turned just in time to see the car jump the curb. Everything slowed. The color drained from the street. The noise dulled, as if the city had inhaled and forgotten how to exhale. Her body locked. She didn't move, didn't scream, didn't think. And then, a hand closed around her arm. Firm, certain. She was pulled back hard, stumbling into a solid chest as the car slammed into the metal post where she'd been standing a heartbeat earlier. The impact thundered through the sidewalk. Glass shattered. People shouted. Mira gasped, breath tearing out of her lungs. Easy, a voice said close to her ear. Calm. Anchoring. I've got you. Her hands clutched fabric instinctively. His coat. She realized who it was before she saw his face. He didn't let go until the world came rushing back in. Sirens. Voices. Chaos. When he finally released her, his hands lingered just a second too long, as if he were making sure she was still real. You okay? He asked. She nodded, dizzy. I think so. Her knees wobbled. He steadied her without comment. How did you? Her voice broke. She swallowed and tried again. How did you get to me so fast? His jaw tightened. I was close. Too close. The car's driver was being pulled from the wreckage. Someone was crying. Someone else was yelling into a phone. Mira stared at the twisted metal, her pulse roaring in her ears. If he hadn't. She didn't finish the thought. She turned to him. You knew. He didn't deny it. You knew something was going to happen. I knew there was a risk, he said. That doesn't answer my question. A beat. I watch patterns, he said quietly. Cars speeding. Routes. Timing. Her skin prickled. That's not normal, she whispered. His gaze softened, not apologetic. Not defensive. Honest. No, he agreed. It isn't. An officer approached, asking questions. Mira answered numbly. When she looked back, he was already stepping away, disappearing again, leaving her with the echo of his touch and the certainty that almost wasn't an accident. Mira didn't sleep that night. She sat at her kitchen table long after midnight, laptop open, notebook beside it. She wrote everything down. The email. The man outside her building. The missing sent message. The strange calm on the subway. The warning about Maple Street. The car. Separately, they were nothing. Together. Her stomach twisted. She stared at the page, pen hovering. This wasn't coincidence. She pulled up her inbox. Searched keywords. Dates. 3 messages flagged as deleted by system error. Her chest tightened. She checked her building's public security feed. A maintenance request she didn't remember submitting had been approved. New lighting installed on her block 2 weeks ago. Her pulse thudded. She closed the laptop slowly. A knock sounded at her door. She froze. Then another. Controlled. Even. She stood on shaking legs and approached, peering through the peephole. It was him. She opened the door without thinking. I was hoping you'd be awake, he said quietly. Her voice trembled. You knew I would be. Not a question. A statement. He didn't deny it. May I come in, he asked. She stepped aside. He crossed the threshold, gaze sweeping the apartment, not invasive. Protective. She folded her arms, grounding herself. You've been interfering with my life, she said. Yes. The admission stole her breath. How long? A pause. Long enough. Her eyes burned. Why? He met her gaze fully now. No distance. No deflection. Because someone was going to hurt you, he said. And I couldn't allow that. Her chest rose and fell sharply. You didn't ask if I wanted this. I know. Silence stretched between them, heavy and electric. Finally, she whispered. You erased the threats before I ever saw them. He nodded once. Yes. Her knees weakened. And the truth settled, slow and terrifying and strange. She hadn't been lucky at all. She had been protected. Mira didn't sit. She stood near the edge of the living room, arms wrapped around herself, as if holding her body together required conscious effort. He remained by the door. Not looming. Not crowding. Waiting. You've been watching me, she said. Her voice didn't shake. That surprised her. Yes. The word landed cleanly. No excuse attached to it. No softening. Her breath caught anyway. How long? She asked. He studied her for a moment, as if choosing which truth she could handle. Since before the man outside your building appeared, he said. Her throat tightened. So weeks. Longer. The room felt suddenly smaller. She dragged a hand through her hair. You should have told me. I considered it. And I didn't know if you'd listen. She let out a humorless laugh. You didn't give me the choice. No, he said quietly. I didn't. The honesty disarmed her more than any denial would have. She took a step closer, then stopped. Her pulse thundered in her ears. You said someone was going to hurt me. Yes. Who? A flicker crossed his face. Not fear. Calculation. Someone you wouldn't recognize as a threat, he said. Her stomach dropped. That's not reassuring. I know. She hugged herself tighter. Then why do I feel safer when you're here? The question slipped out before she could stop it. The silence that followed was thick. He didn't answer right away. When he finally spoke, his voice was lower. Rougher. Because I've been making sure you are. Her breath shuddered. That's not, she stopped. Tried again. That's not how safety is supposed to work. No, he agreed. But it's how this one does. Something cracked open inside her chest. She looked at him, really looked. The calm. The control. The way nothing about him felt impulsive. You didn't step in because you panicked, she said slowly. You stepped in because you were prepared. Yes. The realization sent a chill down her spine. You planned for me. He didn't deny it. Mira sank onto the edge of the couch, legs suddenly unsteady. Sit, he said softly. She ignored the instruction, but appreciated the concern behind it. How bad is it? She asked. He took a breath. Bad enough, he said, that I didn't want you knowing too early. Her jaw tightened. You decided that for me. Yes. Anger flared, hot and sharp, but underneath it was something else. Fear. Tell me what you can, she said. Not what you think I can handle. What I deserve to know. He nodded once. There were messages, he began, escalating in tone. Then proximity. Someone watching your routines. Her chest constricted. I intercepted what I could, he continued. Redirected others. Slowed things down. You make it sound methodical. It was. She swallowed. And the car? That wasn't planned, he said. But it wasn't random either. Her hands clenched in her lap. You're telling me someone was testing boundaries? Yes. And you? She asked quietly. What were you doing? I was closing the distance. The words sent a shiver through her. How did you even find me? She whispered. A pause. I was looking for someone else, he said carefully. You crossed my path. And then I saw the risk before you did. The way he said it, so calm, so certain, made her chest ache. You never thought about stopping? She asked. I did. And I couldn't. The admission felt heavier than everything else he'd said. Mira stood again, pacing now. You said you erased the threats, she said. Plural. Yes. Her heart skipped. Which means? One of them didn't listen, he finished quietly. The room seemed to tilt. One of them survived? Yes. And you didn't tell me because? Because panic makes people unpredictable, he said. And I needed you moving the way you always do. Her breath left her in a sharp exhale. You needed me unaware. I needed you alive. The words hit her harder than she expected. She stopped pacing. Are they still watching me? She asked. He didn't answer immediately. That was answer enough. Her voice dropped. How close? His gaze lifted to hers. Close enough that I'm not leaving tonight. A strange mix of terror and relief rushed through her. You're staying, she repeated. Yes. Not a promise. A fact. She wrapped her arms around herself again, suddenly aware of how quiet the apartment felt. If I ask you to stop, she said softly, will you? The question hung between them. Heavy. Dangerous. He took a step closer, but stopped short of touching her. If you ask me to walk away, he said slowly, I will. Her chest tightened. But I don't think you will. She looked up at him, breath caught. How can you be so sure? His gaze held hers, unwavering. Because you already know, he said, that the safest place you've ever been is right here. The words settled deep in her chest. And she didn't argue. Mira didn't realize she was shaking until he noticed. His gaze dropped to her hands, clenched too tightly at her sides, and then lifted back to her face. You don't have to decide anything tonight, he said. The words should have eased her. They didn't. Because the truth had already taken root in her chest, spreading slowly, inevitably. You're not asking to stay, she said. You're already staying. Yes. Her breath caught. And if I tell you to leave? I will. The answer came too quickly. Too clean. She searched his face for hesitation and found none. That should have comforted her. Instead, it frightened her. You'd really walk away? She asked. His eyes softened, Not weak, not uncertain. Just human. I don't want to, he said. But I will. Silence wrapped around them. Mira turned toward the window, pressing her palm against the cool glass. The city glowed below, lights blinking, lives moving forward, unaware of the invisible lines being drawn around her. You decided I needed protection, she said quietly. Without asking. Yes. And now you're telling me the choice is mine. Yes. Her reflection stared back at her. Pale. Steady. Changed. That feels unfair, she whispered. I know. She turned back to him. Say I agree. Say I let you keep doing this. What happens then? His jaw tightened, not in anger but restraint. Then I stay close, he said. Closer than before. And if I don't? Then I pull back, he replied. And trust that I've done enough. The words sat between them, heavy with consequence. Mira closed her eyes. The thought of him leaving, of the quiet safety draining out of the room, made her chest ache in a way she hadn't expected. She opened her eyes again. Tonight, she said slowly, you stay. A pause. His breath left him in a measured exhale. Okay, he said. Just that. But something in the room shifted, settled, as if a line had been crossed and neither of them could step back over it. Mira sat at the kitchen table while he stood across from her, laptop open between them. He hadn't suggested this. She had. If you're staying, she'd said, voice tight, then I need to see it. He'd hesitated only a moment before nodding. Tell me when to stop, he said. Now the screen glowed softly in the dim apartment. He showed her the messages first. Emails flagged before delivery. Phone numbers blocked before they rang. A thread of escalating language, subtle at first, then sharper. Her name appeared more times than she liked. Her stomach twisted. You read all of these, she murmured. Yes. And you decided which ones I never saw. Yes. He pulled up another file. Security footage, grainy, time-stamped. A man lingering too long outside her building. Another pacing near her office. A third stepping back just before she exited a store. Her breath came shallow. You followed them, she said. I redirected them. Her voice shook. That's not the same thing. No, he agreed. It's safer. She looked up at him, eyes burning. You don't get to decide what I can handle. I know. Then why do it? His gaze didn't waver. Because the cost of being wrong was too high. She pressed her hands flat on the table, grounding herself. How long would you have kept going, she asked softly, if I'd never noticed? The question hung heavy. Until the threat was gone, he said. Or until you were. Her breath stuttered. That's not comforting. It's honest. She pushed the laptop away, standing abruptly. You built a wall around my life, she said. Brick by brick. Without asking if I wanted to live inside it. He closed the screen gently. I didn't build it to trap you, he said. I built it to keep everything else out. The words lodged deep in her chest. And what about you? She asked. Where do you stand in all of this? A beat. Inside, he said. The night deepened. Rain tapped softly against the windows, steady and unhurried. Mira stood in the doorway to her bedroom, unsure when she'd walked there. You can take the couch, she said. I know. He didn't move. You don't cross that line, she continued. Not without my say. I won't. She watched him carefully. Even if you think it's safer. Yes. The answer was firm. She nodded once, relief and tension tangling in her chest. As she turned away, her voice caught. Why me? He didn't answer immediately. When he did, his voice was lower. Closer. Because you didn't see the danger, he said. And because I did. She turned back, heart pounding. That's not enough. It was for me. The admission felt dangerous. You never asked if I wanted to be important to you, she said. I know. And now, he said quietly. I'm asking if you want me to stay important to you. Her throat tightened. She stepped closer, just one step. Not touching. If I let you, she whispered, this doesn't end. I know. And if I ask you to stop someday? I'll listen. She studied his face, searching for the lie. Found none. Her chest rose with a shaky breath. Okay, she said. The word felt like a door opening and closing at the same time. He nodded, slow and deliberate. I won't cross the line, he said. Unless you ask. Mira turned toward her bedroom again. But before she disappeared inside, she paused. Thank you, she said softly. For what? For keeping me safe, she replied. Even when I didn't know I needed it. Silence stretched. Then just as quietly. You're welcome. She closed the door behind her. And on the other side of it, He stayed exactly where he was. Watching. Waiting. Protecting. The knock came just after midnight. Not loud. Not urgent. 3 controlled taps. Mira woke instantly. Her heart slammed against her ribs as she sat up, the quiet of the apartment suddenly too loud, too hollow. For one suspended moment she listened, every nerve straining. Nothing. Then she heard it. Footsteps. Soft. Deliberate. Outside her bedroom door. Her breath caught. She slipped out of bed and opened the door a crack. He stood in the hallway, already dressed, posture alert. One finger lifted, not to silence her, but to steady her. "There's someone downstairs," he said quietly. The words landed like ice in her veins. "Here," she whispered. "Yes." Her pulse roared. "How do you know?" His jaw tightened. "Because they're not trying to hide anymore." He moved then, crossing the space between them, placing himself just in front of her without touching her. Protective. Instinctive. "Stay here," he said. She shook her head. "I'm not hiding." He looked at her, really looked, measuring fear against resolve. "Then stay behind me," he said. They moved together down the hallway, the apartment dim except for the city glow spilling through the windows. He paused near the living room, gaze fixed on the front door. A shadow shifted beneath it. Myra's stomach dropped. Her phone buzzed in her hand. A blocked number. She swallowed and answered. Silence. Then breathing. Slow. Intentional. Her skin crawled. He glanced at her phone once, and something inside him snapped. Not loud. Not violent. Cold. He took the phone from her gently and ended the call. "That's close enough," he murmured. The doorknob rattled. Once. Twice. He stepped forward, placing his palm flat against the door. "Go," he said to Mira, voice steady. "Bedroom. Lock it." She hesitated. He turned his head just enough to look at her. "I've got this," he said. She didn't argue. She ran. The police lights faded with the rain. Red. Blue. Gone. Mira sat on the edge of the couch, knees drawn to her chest, staring at the scuffed mark near the doorframe. Evidence of force. Of intent. Of how close it had come. He crouched in front of her, careful not to touch her without permission. "They won't be back," he said quietly. Her voice shook. "You don't know that." "I do." Something in his certainty steadied her breathing. "They were testing how far they could go," he continued. "They learned." She looked at him then, really looked. There was a faint mark near his temple, a bruise forming along his knuckles. "You didn't tell me you were hurt," she said. "It doesn't matter." "It matters to me." The words slipped out before she could stop them. He stilled. She reached out, slow, deliberate, and brushed her fingers over his knuckles. The contact was brief, electric. He inhaled sharply. "You don't have to do that," he said. "I want to." Silence settled around them, heavy and intimate. "I saw you," she whispered. "When they were here." He didn't look away. "What did you see?" "Control," she said. "But not detachment." His gaze darkened. "You saw restraint." Her chest tightened. "You could have ended it," she said. "And you didn't." "Because you were watching," he replied. The admission wrapped around her heart. She nodded once. Then she stepped closer. Not into his space. Into the space between them. They stood inches apart now. The city hummed outside. Rain whispered against glass. Myra's voice was barely audible. "You said you'd walk away if I asked." "Yes." "And you meant it." "Yes." She searched his face, then nodded slowly. "I don't want you to," she said. The words felt dangerous. Necessary. His breath hitched just once. "Say it again," he murmured. "I don't want you to walk away." The tension broke something open in him. "I didn't start protecting you because I cared," he said quietly. Her heart stuttered. "Then why?" "Because I couldn't stand the idea of something happening to you," he replied. "Even before I knew you." "That is caring," she whispered. "No," he said. "That was obsession." The honesty stole her breath. "And now?" she asked. "Now it's choice," he said. "Every day I stay, it's because you let me." Her pulse thundered. She stepped closer still, until her hands brushed his chest. He froze. "I choose you," she said softly. "Not because I'm afraid." He waited. "But because I feel safest when you're here." His eyes closed briefly, as if the words struck something deep and unguarded. When he opened them, his voice was rough. "Then stay with me," he said. "Let me keep you safe." Her fingers curled into his shirt. "I already am." He didn't kiss her. Didn't touch her beyond the place she already held. He rested his forehead against hers instead, controlled, reverent. The world narrowed to breath and warmth, and the quiet certainty settling between them. She wasn't trapped. She was choosing, and so was he. Morning came quietly. No sirens. No footsteps outside the door. No shadows pressing against the walls. Mira woke to stillness. The kind that didn't feel empty, but held. She lay there for a moment, listening to the muted sounds of the city waking up. Distant traffic. A door closing somewhere below. Life continuing, unaware of how close it had come to breaking her. She rose slowly and padded down the hallway. He was in the kitchen. Not pacing. Not guarding the door. Just standing by the counter, sleeves rolled up, pouring coffee into 2 mugs like it was the most natural thing in the world. He looked up when he felt her. "You didn't sleep much," he said. She shook her head. "Neither did you." "No." There was no apology in his voice. No regret. Only presence. She leaned against the doorway, watching him for a long moment. "You stayed exactly where you said you would," she said. "Yes." She crossed the room and took the mug he offered her. Their fingers brushed, intentional this time. Neither of them pulled away. "You could have left," she said quietly. "I didn't want to." "That's not what I meant." He met her gaze fully now. "You could have stayed without watching," she continued. "Without listening. Without being ready. A beat." "I don't know how to be here any other way," he said. The honesty didn't frighten her anymore. It grounded her. She took a sip of coffee, then set the mug down and stepped closer. Close enough that she could feel his warmth, his steady breath. "What happens now?" she asked. His expression didn't change. "Now," he said, "we stop pretending the danger was temporary." Her chest tightened. "You think it's not over?" "I think it's quieter," he replied. "And quieter things are harder to hear." She nodded. That made sense. "And me?" she asked. "What do I do?" He didn't answer right away. When he did, his voice was careful. "You live," he said. "The way you always have. I just stay close. And if I decide I don't want that anymore?" He didn't hesitate. "Then I step back." The answer wasn't dramatic. It was certain. She studied his face, searching for the lie. There wasn't one. Her fingers curled lightly into the fabric of his shirt. "Stay," she said. The word felt different in the morning light. Less desperate. More deliberate. He inhaled slowly, as if accepting a vow. "I will," he said. She leaned into him then. Not rushed, not needy. Just enough to feel the truth of him. He didn't cage her. Didn't claim her. He rested his hand at her back, steady, warm, present. The kind of touch that didn't take. Only stayed. Outside, the city moved on. People crossed streets. Emails arrived. Lives continued, untouched by the danger that had once hovered so close. Mira closed her eyes. For the first time in a long while, she didn't feel watched. She felt held. And behind her, quiet, constant, unyielding. He stayed exactly where he'd always been. Protecting. Waiting. Present. "You were never alone," he says. "You just didn't know I was already there."